The story of America's rise from a colonial outpost to one of the world's preeminent superpowers is one of the most remarkable transformations in modern history. This journey, spanning several centuries, is shaped by a complex interplay of social, economic, and political forces, along with the resilience and ingenuity of its people. It begins with the establishment of the 13 British colonies along the eastern seaboard of North America in the early 1600s. The colonies, initially founded for various economic and religious reasons, were under British control, but began to develop their own identities and aspirations. As time passed, tensions between the colonies and the British Empire grew, primarily due to issues of taxation, trade restrictions, and governance. These growing conflicts eventually culminated in the American Revolution, a bold and transformative struggle for independence that began in 1775. The revolution was not just a fight for freedom, it was a declaration of the colonies' desire to shape their own destiny. Led by figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin, the American colonies fought against the might of the British Empire and, against all odds, succeeded in securing their independence with the Treaty of Paris in 1783. This victory marked the birth of the United States of America. However, the newfound nation faced enormous challenges. It was a vast and diverse territory with no clear vision for governance, and its economy was largely agrarian, dependent on slave labor, and vulnerable to global market fluctuations. The early years of the United States were defined by attempts to create a stable political system. The Articles of Confederation, the nation's first constitution, proved ineffective, leading to the drafting of the U.S. Constitution in 1787. This document established a strong federal government, a system of checks and balances, and the protection of individual rights through the Bill of Rights. These foundational principles helped to unite the country, though it would take time for all citizens to enjoy equal rights under the law. Slavery, a deeply entrenched institution in the southern states, was a source of profound division, leading to political tensions that would eventually erupt into the Civil War in the mid-19th century. The Civil War, fought from 1861 to 1865, was a pivotal moment in America's history. The conflict was not just about slavery, but about the very nature of the American Union. The war resulted in the preservation of the United States as a single nation, and the abolition of slavery with the ratification of the 13th Amendment in 1865. The Reconstruction era that followed was marked by efforts to integrate the formerly enslaved population into American society, though these efforts were often stymied by racial prejudice and the entrenchment of white supremacy, particularly in the South. Despite these struggles, the Civil War laid the groundwork for the United States' emergence as an industrial power in the late 19th century. By the late 1800s, America had begun its transformation into a major industrial nation. The expansion of railroads, the rise of factory-based production, and the discovery of new technologies such as electricity and the telephone helped propel the country into an era of unprecedented economic growth. This period, known as the Gilded Age, was marked by significant advancements in manufacturing and infrastructure, but also by stark inequality and political corruption. In the face of this, social movements arose, demanding better working conditions, rights for women, and more equitable treatment for all Americans. The labor movement, led by figures like Samuel Gompers and Eugene V. Debs, sought to address the issues of poverty, child labor, and unsafe working conditions in rapidly growing urban centers. As the 20th century dawned, America's role on the world stage began to shift. The Spanish-American War in 1898 marked the United States' emergence as an imperial power, as it acquired territories like Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. This was a defining moment in America's foreign policy, as it began to assert its influence beyond its borders. The United States also became involved in global conflicts, particularly in Europe, where the two world wars would change the course of history. World War I, although initially a conflict between European powers, saw the United States enter the fray in 1917, helping to tip the balance in favor of the Allies and establishing America as a global power. The war also catalyzed changes at home, leading to social and economic reforms, including the expansion of women's rights with the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920. The interwar years were a time of both economic prosperity and deep social upheaval. The 1920s, known as the Roaring Twenties, were marked by consumerism, jazz, and technological innovation, but the decade ended with the catastrophic stock market crash of 1929. The Great Depression that followed left millions unemployed and impoverished, threatening the very fabric of American society. It was only with the New Deal programs of President Franklin D. Roosevelt that the U.S. began to recover, with reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy, securing social welfare, and revitalizing the labor market. The United States' role in global affairs became even more pronounced with the outbreak of World War II. After initially maintaining a policy of neutrality, the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 forced the U.S. to join the Allied powers in their fight against the Axis forces. The war was a defining moment in American history, not only because of its military and economic contributions, but also because of the societal changes it sparked. The mobilization of the war effort led to full employment and the expansion of the labor force, with women and minorities entering industries that had previously been closed to them. The war also led to the development of the atomic bomb, a technological leap that would give the U.S. significant leverage in post-war geopolitics. The outcome of World War II solidified the United States' position as one of the two superpowers, alongside the Soviet Union. The Cold War, which lasted from the late 1940s to the early 1990s, was a period of intense rivalry between these two nations, each representing a different political and economic ideology. The U.S. championed democracy and capitalism, while the Soviet Union promoted communism. This ideological battle played out in various forms: military interventions, the space race, proxy wars in Korea, Vietnam, and Afghanistan, and nuclear brinkmanship. The threat of nuclear war loomed large over the world, but America's military and economic strength, combined with its political alliances through NATO and its leadership in international organizations like the United Nations, allowed it to maintain its dominance. The post-war era also saw significant changes within the U.S. itself. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1962, led by figures such as Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X, fought to end racial segregation and secure equal rights for African Americans. This period of social upheaval was not just about race, but also about gender, with the feminist movement gaining momentum and women fighting for equal pay and reproductive rights. These movements reshaped the nation, pushing it toward greater equality, though challenges remain. By the late 20th century, the United States had firmly established itself as the world's foremost superpower, dominating not only military and economic spheres, but also cultural and technological ones. The rise of Silicon Valley and the spread of American entertainment and media across the globe made American culture a defining influence worldwide. The end of the Cold War, marked by the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, left the U.S. as the undisputed global leader, with its liberal democratic values and market-based economy seen as the model for the world. However, the 21st century has not been without its challenges. The events of September 11, 2001, marked a new era in U.S. foreign policy, as the country grappled with the threat of global terrorism. The wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, the 2008 financial crisis, and increasing political polarization at home have all tested America's resilience. Yet, despite these setbacks, the country continues to be a beacon of innovation, resilience, and leadership on the global stage. The rise of America from a fledgling colony to a global superpower is a testament to the ingenuity, determination, and spirit of its people. While challenges remain, the journey of the United States is far from over. As we look toward the future, it is clear that the nation will continue to evolve, face new challenges, and redefine its role in a rapidly changing world. Thank you for watching this historical journey of America's rise to power. If you enjoyed this video and would like to learn more about the rich history and future of nations, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest content and never miss an exciting story.